But I asked the question in the poll here for those of you watching live on stream right now, but this is the topic that I want to get to. Is John Cena's heel turn good so far, right? We are over a month since it happened. We are well over a month since the turn. 3 consecutive weeks of John Cena appearances on the Netflix, on Raw, in Europe, where John shows up and has a bit of a tete-a-tete with Cody Rhodes, establishing why he did it, why he did the thing, and you know what. And we talked about it last week a little bit, right? We talked about it last week on stream. I thought so far was pretty boring. And they had another one. As I'm speaking, I'm recording this on the Monday. They had one today, which I was able to watch before coming on the show because it was broadcast from the UK. So I was able to jump in and watch it just to get a gist of what's going on. And I've got to tell you, the only things that changed, that were different in this sequence here, in this promo off that they had this week, was that Cena wasn't able to start, wasn't able to get going with his promo because Cody came out, interrupted him straight off and came out. So we didn't have John Cena talking, only to have Cody come out later. No, Cody came straight out. And there was actually physicality when Cody Rhodes hit the crossroads on John Cena to conclude the segment. But other than that, it was a very bog standard, kind of dry, very boring promo between these two guys who, as I understand, if I was paying attention correctly, are going to close out WrestleMania, which means, at least to me, means they're main eventing night 2, which is actually the absolute main event of WrestleMania, right? That's the one. I say there's 2 nights the main event, but the main event is for night of the event is night 2. That's how WWE has booked the last few to make us understand that night 2 is the true main event. I thought this, okay, as I said, I thought this was boring. And I think I'm at a point where I feel I will confidently plant my flag here and say that the John Cena heel turn is a bust. It's not bad, it's a bust. It's not working. Creatively speaking, I think this is not good. I don't think anyone is particularly excited about it. I think John Cena is extremely dull. We talked about it last week, but it came across again even this week. I don't think he's a good heel. I think Vince had it right. I think that's why Vince never pulled the trigger on it. He knew John couldn't pull it off, or that we wouldn't buy it. I think there's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. As good as the angle was, and I'm not budging on that. That angle was terrific. What a great angle. Nothing has happened. Nothing feels exciting or fresh. And you are involved right now in the most WWE style build to a WrestleMania main event. A style that they've been doing for the past 15 years or so, where it's just babyface and heel get into the ring and sort of cut promos on each other and then go home. And then they do that week after week after week. We're just in the same territory we've always been in. And here I was told when Vince was knocked out and Paul Levesque was going to be the creative mind behind WWE, that everything was going to be so different, that things were going to be done in a different way. And up until this point, and I've said this to you all multiple times, I have not seen anything that really makes me say, oh, this is super different, because Paul Levesque learned everything he knows about running a wrestling promotion from Vince McMahon, who just also happens to be his father-in-law. So when I see this, I'm like, well, this is the Vince McMahon special. This is absolutely 100% just the plain old Vince McMahon special. I don't see anything exciting. I don't see anything that's tantalizing me, that's getting me excited. Nothing out of the ordinary. It is the most basic ass WWE build to WrestleMania you could probably imagine. And I'm not the only one telling it. Me, a WWE not enjoyer. Multiple people are, and their fan base is not excited about it. The usual talking heads that are usually so gung-ho on everything WWE does, not even them are into it. They're saying, well, man, feels a little dry this year, feels a little off this year. And we again, last week I brought it up and I said, well, this, and I'm going to reiterate that point. This is a typical WWE WrestleMania build. Over the past 2 years, they were lucky to have struck gold with Cody and the bloodline angle that was able to drive the business and excitement for WrestleMania for 2 consecutive years. But now they don't have that anymore. Cody's the champ. Bloodline, whatever the fuck, it'll turn into something else, right? Whatever, but they don't have that level of excitement over the past 2 years. So these fans that are going, wow, it feels kind of dry this year, I feel like these are probably new fans who came in when the company was super hot, and maybe now they're discovering what the company is like when it's not super hot, when it's riding on its, in its usual level, on it with its usual beat. This is what WWE looks like. And I just sort of shrug and I go, well, we're back to the playbook. It's fine. Like, honestly, it's all right. So I'm not going to sit here and slam my desk and tell you that they're fumbling the WrestleMania and it doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. I'm, as an observer, as someone who watches this from afar and has been watching around and paying attention, they're just completely out of the super hot angle of Roman and Cody that they were privileged enough to have, and now they're fallen back onto stuff where they have to rebuild. They have to find something else. They have to do something else. And this is going to be the true test for Triple H. Can he recreate? Can he create, not just recreate, can he create something that will generate as much buzz and heat and interest as the past 2 years did? And let's not forget the most important part here, in case you're wondering if he can, everything that happened in the past 2 years of WWE was either within or remnants of Vince McMahon's creative. The bloodline happened under Vince, Cody Rhodes happened under Vince, and Paul was essentially gifted all of this once Vince hit the bricks. Now Vince is gone. Vince is gone. They've realized that, the bloodline stuff maybe needed a bit of a pause. I think, fans were starting to get exhausted and everyone sort of felt it. So they had to move on. We got to do other things. And now Paul is in the position. This is what he wanted. This is what he always wanted. both hands on the wheel of WWE Creative to do whatever he wants. So what is the big fresh idea? What is the thing that we're going to do? A John Cena heel turn to challenge Cody at WrestleMania. Okay. I can see a certain amount of value in that. A triple threat? Roman, CM Punk, and Seth? All right. Sure. Jey Uso and Gunther? Up until the angle today. The angle, I don't know if you saw the angle today between Jey Uso. Good angle. I thought it was good because finally had Gunther looking like a fucking killer again. It was tremendous. It was tremendous. But Jey Uso, man, what a dark horse. What a dark horse to get behind. I would say that Triple H is banking a lot on, pushing old Jey Uso. I think he sees it as his project and he wants it to work. Is it going to work? Is it going to be, is Jey Uso going to be his John Cena? Or is he going to be his Austin Theory? Or is he going to be his Jey Uso, which might be something completely else, right? But as it stands right now, the John Cena turn, I don't think is working. I think it's a bust. Creatively speaking, I think it's super uninteresting. I think there's something to be said that we're not going too hard on the heel turn because John Cena is going to turn back babyface. And if that's the case, well, that's not a good idea. That's not very compelling at all. I was chatting with Garrett Kidney earlier today. And Garrett, I'm going to parrot what he said because he's absolutely right. I'm giving full credit to him. He said Cena's turn is a 100% Cena's turn is 100% a Russo-like event where you do it for the shock value, but you've really got no essence, no plan behind it. There's no substance to it. You just did it for the headlines. US front page of USA Today, bro. That's why you do it. And then there's nothing. Then there's nothing satisfying to come out of it. I 100% buy that. I think that's a good. I think it's a good comparison in this circumstance. But you want to put on your tinfoil hats for a second, folks? Let's put on our tinfoil hats for just a second, just a smidge. What if this was all orchestrated by Dwayne so that Dwayne can come across looking better? Here, let me explain here. You've heard the reports, right? That the original plan was for Cody to turn heel. That's what The Rock wanted, I should say. Cody to turn heel and then fight John Cena babyface at WrestleMania, right? Cody joins The Rock and that was the thing. But backstage politics, essentially Cody shutting it down and then them pivoting to John Cena turning heel and he said, hell yeah, I'll do it, right? What if from that point on, The Rock was like, look, all of these guys trying to tell me what to do, standing up to me, this is not how it's going to work. I am still the most important guy in this company. So what if The Rock orchestrated this so that Cena would end up in a spot in which he would not succeed in, that he was 100% set up to fail, so that The Rock could just go around and say, well, look, if we had done my plan, this wouldn't have happened. What if over the next 3 weeks, right? Because remember, John Cena doesn't have any announced dates. After today, Monday, March 31st, John Cena has no other announced dates for WrestleMania, right up until WrestleMania on Raw, right? He's not, doesn't mean he won't have any, but he's not announced for anything. Well, what if over the next 3 weeks, it's The Rock that shows up to keep this feud going, to keep it alive, to keep the fire burning? And he sort of goes, yeah, all right, shaking things up. And he comes in and it turns into a success. Well, he can then say, well, of course it was a success because I came in to save it. And if it fails, it was like, well, look, if they had stuck to my plan from the start, it wouldn't have been so bad. We would not be in this position, right? What if this is all a situation where Dwayne Johnson wins again? Where Dwayne sets this up to take down his enemies? And notwithstanding, look, if you really want to go tinfoil, notwithstanding that, John Cena is still working in the DC universe, and he's a pal with James Gunn, right? I don't think Dwayne and James Gunn are. Yeah, I don't think they send each other Christmas cards anymore. I don't think they're inviting each other to their weekend villas to, play croquet and watch the game. Whatever the fuck rich people do. I don't think so anyway. I'm just saying. Like that's a little conspiratorial. I will agree. Don't put it past Dwayne Johnson for being that petty, because he can absolutely get that petty. Just saying. But look, ultimately right now, this John Cena thing, this John Cena turn is not working. And anyone who wants to talk about this being one of the greatest heel turn of all time, or one of the greatest, has got to be deflated straight off the bat. Because great heel turns will have great impact moving forward, which is why I still believe Hogan is the greatest. The Hogan heel turn is still the greatest heel turn of all time, because it completely turned the business around, tacked on easily a decade on his career that people thought was already done. And there's still a few weeks to go. But right now, the John Cena heel turn is doing nothing to create interest, excitement for WrestleMania. It's not adding anything. This is not the greatest. I think as far as shock value goes, it's a good one. It's one of the top ones. But I'd have to think about it. I have to put my mind to it and, consider what some of the greatest heel turns in wrestling are. And is John Cena is part-timer. Because here's the other thing, and I've maintained this from the start, is part-timer, end of career John Cena doing a heel turn, is that even all that compelling to begin with? If 2016, you turn John Cena, holy fuck, now you got something. Here, he's in his last year as a pro wrestler. He hasn't been he hasn't been in the company doing regular TV for years at this point. Is it that even compelling to begin with? Like Garrett said, it might just turned out to be a Russo style moment that will have the shock value, but will generate no returns. How about that?